What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today. Welcome back to some more Trackdayr, and it's a very exciting day. We have had a new major release update for everybody. So at last you guys get to actually play the things that I've been playing on the dev build for the last couple of weeks. Now I'm going to quickly go through the changelog just to briefly go through what to expect from the game, and there's a lot of very interesting updates in there. So this is build 1.0.95.51, bit of a tongue twister, but it's fine. We carry on moving. Now there's been some updates to the multiplayer on this game. We can go all the way up to 22 players now, as you can see here, and I feel like the whole racing system online has been really improved. You get a full race, you get a little podium afterwards, and just makes it all that little bit more immersive. They've updated the penalty system, and I think this is most important in the time trial mode or time attack mode, whichever you want to refer to it as previously. I think there's like 3 gates that you can go through around the track, and that is all you would need to complete a lap. So you can hit the final gate, pop a U-turn, go to the finish line, and cut the track quite a lot, and your lap times still count. That has now been updated, so there are some penalties, and you'll get invalidated lap times a little bit more. We've got some Monster Energy girls. We've got grid girls that hold up the old timing boards on multiplayer starts, so that'll be interesting to see. And then you'll see in previous videos I've been covering some of these Supercross tracks as well, and these Supercross tracks are now released for you guys to get to play, along with one more MX track which I'm going to try in this video and see how that goes, because it looks very nice and flowy. And one of the most important things for me, which is something that I've mentioned in previous videos, is a physics update. So previously it was quite common that on the face of some jumps, or if you was turning ever so slightly on an incline, you'd be robbed of a lot of speed and almost come to a complete stop. That has all been fixed, so I'm crossing my fingers that that is a really good and important change, and let's just go riding around and see how it goes.
If you're enjoying the content so far, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. He would really appreciate it. Back to the video.
Right, so Tarn MX, this is a new one, French track, if I'm going just based off of the picture. So let's load into this and see how it's going to go. It looks quite pretty from what I can see in the little preview there. And I believe also something that wasn't in them notes, but I've seen in the dev chat, is I think they've been working on the first person camera ever so slightly. So let's switch forwards to that, go into this first person. So already it seems a bit further forwards than it would do normally. And I think the biggest thing for me was just how high the FOV felt. So this feels a little bit closer in. It's still a little bit shaky for my liking, but you can already see straight off the bat you've got some more corner anticipation now, whereas before you'd go into a corner, start turning, and you'd still be facing the corner rather than looking at the exit or where you'd like to go. So this feels actually, oh god, there's a little corner there. I need to pay attention to the track map in the bottom right so I don't go flying off. So if you are a majority first person player, which I am not in this game, I do like my third person, I just like seeing the whips and things like that, but I know some of you are very hardcore first person players. You will enjoy this update a hell of a lot more. One thing that I think I'd like to see for the future is even just some in-game sliders, you know, rather than having to go into the files to adjust your camera settings, just some in-game sliders to increase the FOV or distance and height, you know, just like the typical things that MX Bikes or MX Simulator has. And I actually quite enjoy crashing in first person. You just get to properly walk over to your bike, pick her up, swing her leg back over, and get going again. Good old kickstart Kenny. There we go, lovely stuff. Let me go back into third person. Let's just spam through here. And I prefer number 2 I press on the keyboard to get this camera angle. So let's do some riding. Let's see how it goes. I'm running with my old trusty UFO gear, and I'll go over that, my RM250. Don't believe there was any more bikes added into this update, although granted I didn't actually check. That's a turn to the right. I'm going to crash here, aren't I? Keep going. Oh, god damn it. Now, I hadn't played for a couple of dev builds, and this could well be a change that was in there that wasn't fully mentioned in the log that I just read through. The traction feels different. It feels like it's not quite as grippy, like overpowered grippy in the corners, but at the same time it also doesn't feel like you're just lighting the back end up super easily, because I felt like that was one of the issues before, where if you was lent forwards, as you would do on a motocross bike, trying to go around a turn, you kind of get your weight over the front wheel, give it some grip. I found that it would just basically do a complete 180, where I feel like it's been toned down a little bit now, and at the same time I feel like there's more resistance. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, I just feel like the track feels like it slows you down a little bit more, like there's some friction to it, which I personally like. I do think before that the bikes were going a bit too fast, so I like the game's been slowed down ever so slightly. And I mean, rider positioning is something that I've commented on a few times. I do think it looks fairly good in the air. In corners can be a bit weird. You can see how his legs kind of going up and over the shroud, but I do think that the main issues stem from the rider model. Now, I believe the rider model, I forgot where it was going there. The rider model was, I believe, just meant to be like a road racer at first, and it's only where they've had to try and kind of mould him and to try and fit on these MX bikes that sometimes it can look a little bit goofy. I have seen mentions in the dev chat of them trying to get someone to work on, create, or maybe buy from someone else already a different rider model that's a little bit on the shorter side, because we have got quite a lanky rider here. He's got very, very long arms, as you can see when he leans right off the back of the bike. He's just very, very gangly, I suppose is the right word to use. So I think a slightly smaller rider would probably fit itself much better on the bike and look a lot more natural in corners, and I think that's only really my biggest gripe on the game right now. Now, I did want to do a little bit of online racing, however, I am recording this at 2:30 PM on a Monday. So as you can imagine, a lot of people at school, a lot of people at work. There's not any servers up at all right now. There was one that was on an SX track on 125s, which I didn't really fancy. So we're just doing some solo testing today, and maybe in the future I can get a nice online race going. Maybe I'll even mention in my my Discord server if anybody else has this game. We'll see if we can get a lobby on there. Now it caters up to 22 people. I think that'd be quite nice. Maybe get a full 22-man Supercross race. That could probably be quite a lot of carnage. But I'm very intrigued to see what adjustments they've made to multiplayer overall. I know previously when I played it with Rum, there was a few things like the audio wasn't 100%. If another rider crashes, you can see their rider fall off and their bike, but you then couldn't see their rider walking around until they picked the bike up again. It's like they would teleport. So there's obviously a few little things in there that I think would be nice, good quality of life changes to make. But I also need to remember at the same time just how young this game is in its whole development cycle and how far they've come up to this point. It's really, really, really good. And I've said before, I think I've said to Paboso in the chat, I was like, for the time being, you're safe, but I think if you don't kind of work on your game a little bit more actively than you have been, you're going to be under some real pressure. Like Trackdayr, I think, is definitely one of them up-and-coming games that could push for that top spot, especially as, like Sims getting super old, Bikes is getting on a little bit, gets updates here and there, but probably not quite as much as the community would like. And I think as soon as the modding community gets into Trackdayr and you get a bunch more custom tracks, I think there's probably only like 2 or 3 people in the whole Trackdayr community right now that do build tracks for it. I think as soon as that grows and expands and you get more customization in the game, it's going to be on a roll, is all I can say. I think it's going to be looking very, very good. Again, I've completely forgot this turns to the right. Can I survive it this time? Ride it out. Ride it out. No, okay. I'm glad in a way that I can't survive that, because it does make it a bit more realistic. I think the only thing that they haven't got in this game just yet is, I'm pretty sure if you land straight enough, you can basically flat land anything. So maybe a penalty if the suspension compresses at a certain amount where you kind of explode off the bike would be quite cool. I can't think off the top of my head some urgent fixes that need doing. The game feels very fluent right now, which is the biggest thing for me. I definitely feel like I can keep my momentum going. No chance of bringing that whip back. I think I should probably do a little bit of testing in Supercross as well, shouldn't I? Just to see how the momentum's still working. Let me quickly switch over to that. Right, we're loading into Alameda, which I think is Oakland IRL. We haven't actually done it yet, where it got rescheduled. But let's try out a bit of Soupy. Let's see how this goes. If I remember correctly before, I had some issues on like the really steep jumps in trying to get the bike to just carry its momentum through it. It would just rob me of all of my speed. So let's see how this goes this time. I need to make sure that I'm not dipping the front end as much as I am, because it's very easy to crash. That's just nice and easy. Double around here, double again. Oh, I thought I was tripping that. And then you go up and over this triple. Okay, right. Let me get my bearings a little bit. Let's get nice and smooth. One thing that I quite like about this game compared to other games is this game seems to really reward that smoothness for the time being. Oh, get on the binders. There we go. Like, slow and steady will quite often win the race on here, especially with how much you are penalised for crashing. Just with the whole running to the bike, picking it up, getting going again, it can be quite a costly penalty. Same as Kenny will have in real life, as you saw him kickstarting the bike at A2. I thought that was quite funny in qualifying when the cameraman was just watching him for ages. Right, let me learn my lines through here. I'm guessing you can trip all the way into this corner. Now, one thing that I can feel straight off the bat, which I think would probably help the whoops quite a lot, is I think the in-air gyro. So what I mean by that is how, like, if you put the throttle on, the front wheel will rise. If you brake, the front wheel will dip. I think the acceleration part of it is a little bit overpowered, where I can just accelerate and lean back, and the front end will pop up really high again. Which, as you know, is not the most realistic thing. You can panic rev in real life and get away with it to an extent, but if you're quite nose heavy, there's no way you can just bang on the throttle and save yourself. In this game, that feels very powerful, and the front wheel likes rising up, and you get a lot of wheelies under power. What I think is happening in the whoops at the moment, you kind of ride whoops a little bit like you do on the Monster Energy Supercross games, where you get the bike on the back wheel, front wheel never touches it, and you just lean back and pin it through them. I think to add a more realistic whoop experience where you are skimming through them and your front end's hitting each and every one, the gyro needs turning down. So I'm just holding R2 here, I'm just holding accelerate, and it's kind of holding it up in a wheelie. Whereas if that gyro wasn't so powerful and it wouldn't pull the front wheel up so hard, you could then kind of go through them a little bit more naturally. Because this is me not pressing anything, I'm just holding right trigger. I took my other hand off the controller completely then. So yeah, little small tweaks here and there, and I think, honestly, I think we're going to be pretty damn golden. The bike feels nice through the rhythms. You can see I just completely faced that jump there, where if I'd done that on a previous build, I would just come to a complete stop, basically. Let's go triple. Feels very, very satisfying, and actually quite predictable in terms of what speeds I need to hit things at. I think before it was a little bit hit and miss on if you'd get up and over things properly, just where your speed would be robbed, but they've done a very, very good job of this, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. Now, I don't put in the most feedback in the world, probably nowhere near as much as I should do as being part of that dev group, but I'll put in a clip now and then of if something funky happens to me when I'm playing this on my own time. I had it before where, say the face of this jump was coming out of a corner. Oh, I'm going to screw myself over it. Let's go back very slowly. Very slowly. If I go too fast, I'll crash. So say this Supercross triple was out of a corner and I was still slightly turning up the face of it to scrub. I basically went from like 30 miles an hour to 2 miles an hour, and it just veered me off the side of the track. And then they looked at that, worked on it, and now we've got where we are. And I love the devs of this game. They're just generally really nice people, very enthusiastic people, and they put a lot of time and effort into what they're doing. And I think that there is a large majority of people that do see that and recognise that. I always get comments on these videos now and then where it's like, oh, the game looks trash and Monster Energy Supercross or Legends is better, etc. I feel like a lot of them people, A, are of younger years, they tend to be on the younger side. B, they seem to be more console people, where they haven't experienced the PC games like Bikes and Sim and so on. And then C, they're more used to AAA titles rather than games that are being worked on by 2-3 people max and are in their really early stages. So I think once you eliminate those people that don't really understand what's trying to be built here, then the feedback in general just seems really, really good. And the devs are always open to it as well. I don't think they take anything like any of the negative comments, I don't think they really take to heart and get super offended by it and just kind of fight back. They listen to it all, see where it can be improved. And I've had it before where I've seen someone write a message in the dev chat, and 2 hours later they've put up a new build for people to test out to try and eliminate those issues. And I love it. I love being part of this whole like project where it's growing so quickly. And I think I say it every video I record, I cannot wait to see where this game is in a year's time. I almost feel bad for the road bike guys at some point, because I think there's been so much work and emphasis on the motocross side of things that I feel like the road bike stuff almost gets left behind a little bit. But I feel like they're also at the same time quite happy of where the road bike stuff is right now, so there's no urgent updates to it needed, and the motocross is all very new for them. I see videos that they post here and there of like riders doing whips, and they're using all these different kinds of formulas and mathematical equations to try and make the bike behave in a realistic way in a video game, and it's just big brain stuff I would never be able to comprehend. But I think, as you can see, me riding around laps here in Supercross, it's a lot more fluent than it was last time I played. I'm actually getting around the track, putting down some somewhat clean laps, and it's really, really enjoyable. If you guys haven't had the chance to play the new update yet, 100% go and do so. Or even just, like, if you haven't played the game yet in general, if you are going to buy it at some point, I would advise doing it sooner rather than later, because if my memory serves me correct, I believe as the game gets more and more polished and more towards what you would kind of assume would be a full release game rather than a beta game, I believe the price of it will go up ever so slightly. So you may as well get in early whilst you can, to be honest, and get it whilst the game's on the cheaper side of things. I think it's about €20 or something like that right now. I can't remember off the top of my head, but either way, I really enjoy it, and I'd love to just see more players on so we can get some more online racing going on at the moment as well. I think there's only about 2,000 people in the Trackdayr Discord. How many of them actually have the game, I don't know, and obviously the servers can be a little bit underpopulated at times. But it's one of the most fun gaming experiences I've ever had playing it with friends. Like the video that I done with Rum, I can't remember the last time I had that much fun playing a motocross video game like online with somebody. So just don't take my word for it. Go try it yourself. I'm sure if you don't like it after the whole 2-hour mark and such, you can refund if you want via Steam. There's good old Steam refunds. But I think that'll do it from me. Really positive stuff. Really happy with where the game's headed and how far it's come already. And it's just one of them step ups that is really needed. I'm glad that they don't just rush out massive updates for the community. I'm glad that they take their time, get the dev group really happy with it before getting it out. And I can imagine if they rush things, you get like a bunch of complaints, and that's not the way with them. They do seem to be quite perfectionists when it comes to that thing. I hope they take my little bits of advice on board and what they can fix, like regarding rider positioning and like online audio and stuff. That might be fixed already. I just want to preface that I've not played multiplayer yet on this new build, so I'll see in the future. But really, I'm having a lot of fun, is all I can say. If you did enjoy the video, as always, if I could ask you to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, I would greatly appreciate it. Have a lovely rest of the day, wherever you guys are up to, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace.